Testing. Okay. Good evening. Hello. Welcome to our open house, the first one we've done in the evening. I'm so glad to see you guys here. This is actually our 5th anniversary year and an open house that we're having. So thanks for celebrating with us. I'm thrilled to be here with all the students who helped put this together, faculty who are going to help put it together real time tonight, and all of you students, alumni, and future students who are here kind of checking out the program. So my name is Liz Danzico, and I am the founder and the chair of the program, and super thrilled to share with you briefly what the program is about. So here's how the structure of the evening is going to go. It's going to be pretty quick. We're going to introduce what the program is about to you and to an entire online audience who's watching currently right now from the comfort of their own computers. So hello to you and welcome. We're going to move very quickly to faculty who are sort of the heart and soul of the program, and they're going to teach you the entire MFA in Interaction Design program in 30 minutes. So for those of you coming for perspective reasons, thinking about getting a degree, you may already leave tonight with that in hand. But we're going to try this out. Everybody's going to have a minute to present. We're going to move to conversations with students and alumni and bring some students and alumni up who have real experience day to day to give you a sense of the kinds of projects they work on, what they do in the studio, and so on. And then we're going to break for some drinks and some food. So that's what the structure looks like. So I wanted to give you a sense of what SVA is all about and what the program is all about. For those of you who don't know, SVA is celebrating its 65th year this year, and it was a school called the Cartoonist and Illustrator School back in 1947 when it was founded by this man, Silas Rhodes, and Vern Hogarth, who got together thinking that it would be a great idea to learn by doing, to experience the work that we do, not by studying it per se, but by getting your hands dirty and rolling up your sleeves. And so what they did was they hired faculty from New York City, from the profession, and got them in front of students. And the students themselves were working professionals. So they got working professionals teaching working professionals, and together that's how they made their work. This has been going on now for nearly 3/4 of a century, as we say. And in 2009, we introduced this program. So this is one of many graduate programs. I have lost count, but at SVA we have 4,500 students, and 500 of those are graduate students. So we're pretty small. Our own program is intended to help people research, analyze, prototype, design, and put out into the world the concepts that they have in their minds. So we do very close collaboration with companies, with people in industry, with briefs that the faculty invent, with the students' own ideas, and you'll hear all about that. But I'm just here to give you the kind of overall structure of what the program looks like. So it's a 2-year program, and we accept 20 people per year. That's gone up slightly in the past couple years, from 17 to 18 to 19 to 20. And the first year is broken into 2 parts, first and second semester, where we look at concepts and methods, and the application of those happens in the second year. So we think about the first and the second year divided by a summer, as it is, conveniently, divided by the first and the second semester, the first and the second year divided by a summer. And that summer is an opportunity for people to get involved with internships. And so these internships are ones that students have the opportunity to take what they might be learning in class and sort of apply it in the real world. Some people choose increasingly, especially today, to not work for any company and experience the joys and the frustrations of being an entrepreneur and actually taking on their own projects during the summer. So more and more people, I think, not just during the summer but after graduation, have decided not to work for anyone at all. A big part of our experience here, starting in year 1, particularly focused in year 2, is the thesis. So you'll see part of this process is really the thesis as a discrete part, because the program culminates in a festival, an end-of-year festival where everyone kind of celebrates and shows off the work that they've been sort of creating for a year and a half. So that's a really fun day. We have 20 classes, but actually there are more like 23 or 24 depending on the year. And they all fall into these 4 categories that we really feel are critical to interaction design: experience, behavior, business, and systems. And so when you hear from the faculty today and you hear from the students, you'll hear that they, the classes fall into one of these 4 groups in a messy way, but in my design, this is how we kind of organize the program. The students themselves are pretty diverse in terms of where they come from and where their backgrounds are. But I think interestingly, about a third to half of the people in the program come from New York City, which I've been surprised at kind of year over year. And then also a good number of people every year come from other countries. So it's a pretty diverse program in every sense of the word, and the places that people go afterwards are also pretty diverse. So some of the things that are important to us while we're here are these kinds of expressive, collaborative, the kind of DNA of the program are the way that we kind of think about structuring the classes, structuring the studio experience. Some of these more kind of soft skills are some of the ways that we prepare students kind of like inside but also outside the classes for bigger projects and bigger challenges that they would take on. So this idea of keeping the work that they do kind of human-centered and pragmatic, as well as inventive and exploratory, is really important to us. And so the things that we do tend to be project-based and making-focused rather than kind of like talking about making or talking about what a project might look like. They are pretty diverse. The program itself is really powered by the people who teach in it. So they become the mentors and the leaders of the program. And we are kind of integrated with industry in that we do have some sponsored projects, but a lot of integration through critique and critics and guest lectures that come into the program that bring this kind of outside expertise into the program. Under no circumstances has any one of these people ever dictated what we teach in the classes, which is important to mention, but there is this nice integration with inside and outside the profession. And I think New York City, as you all know, sitting here and you watching via live stream know as well, being embedded in a city is a pretty nice way to do some experimentation. So, in celebration of our 5-year anniversary, I thought I'd tell you quickly just 5 things that we expect from people before they leave the doors of this program. Perhaps you this evening as you get a quick MFA. But these are the metrics by which we hold people accountable. So first and foremost, kind of demonstrating this idea to solve complex problems of design through a process that becomes theirs. So we teach them about the design methods and process that we believe in, but then we very much want people to develop their own. So surely we know about card sorting, and we know 47 different ways to prototype, and we know about materials, but these are all our ideas. And so part of this is helping people understand how to solve problems in their own way, right, and giving this over to them. We really want to foster a culture of openness as much as possible. That goes for creating content and putting it out there in the open and teaching people about open culture and the open ways of developing your work, whether that's about development or whether that's about pitching your ideas, how to work in the open and the importance of that. Participating in a culture of prototyping, like learning prototyping as if it were a new language. So in grammar school, you may have had French or Spanish, and in graduate school, you have prototyping. It is that much of a part of our culture, and any student can attest to that. we really want to emphasize being agnostic, and this used to sort of be expressed as a way of thinking about digital and physical as being one and the same, or being comfortable across media and platform. And it's really, all those things have kind of dropped away and dissolved, and now we're really emphasizing just being agnostic about the places and the things that you make, and really concentrating on the power of the idea and the best way to express that idea. And lastly, being entrepreneurial and really teaching people how to instigate, kind of pursue and investigate entrepreneurial ideas. And actually one for good luck. Communicating your point of view about design, putting that idea out into the world, and having a couple of years to really hone that idea and really understand what you believe in. Like, why did you come to graduate school? What do you believe in? And then how are you going to put that back out into the world? And giving people lots of opportunity to do that. These are really important to us. And what we see in the world is that we've moved from a time where we had like designer superheroes to kind of collaborative teams, where we were kind of writing the script, to now we're like creating the platforms and the frameworks for people to write themselves. And we definitely have moved from creating speculative features to really creating these kinds of pragmatic features. And how do we really get behind what we build? So, here to tell you how we achieve all of this in 2 years, I'm super excited to introduce the faculty of the MFA Interaction Design Program, many of whom have been founding faculty members, and this being their 5th year, and many new just this year. So we have kind of a balance of the two. So the way this works is they have been challenged, not asked, really challenged.
Excuse me. Sorry.
That's right. It gets really academic at this point.
Things.
To teach their class in 1 minute, using no slides, using something else of their choice, and give you an idea of what their class is about in a very short time. If they go over, they might hear a sound like that. Or you can choose to do something else of your choosing. So without further ado, let's get started.
Please welcome to the stage Jill Nussbaum.
All right. Nice to meet everyone. Thanks, Liz, for making me go first. So I teach a class that's called Design in Public Space, and this will be my 5th year teaching the class. And it's funny because when Liz and I were planning for the class, I don't think the App Store had even launched. So the way that people are using their mobile phones in public space, the way they're using multi-touch screens, has totally transformed the experience of technology in public space. So this is a really important skill that all interaction designers need to have, so you should definitely come to SVA. So my class, it's a 7-week class. It focuses on the first part of the design process. So starting with research, going through concepting, idea generation, and ending and communicating ideas through a design narrative. So the students will interview the audience for their project. They'll go to site visits, and from there they'll work in groups to extrapolate insights. And from those insights, they'll go through a process of concept generation, and we spend some time really thinking about how do you come up with ideas. So we'll sketch, we'll create impromptu design fictions, we'll think about how to construct brainstorms, and from there we'll move into the most fun part, which is actually creating a narrative that both helps develop your idea and communicate your idea. I'm doing okay. Yes. Okay. So
you have 5 seconds.
Okay, yeah. All right. So it's one project, and we work with a real-world client. So in the past, we've worked with the Highline, Nike Plus, Plan YC, which is the mayor's sustainable arm. Last year, we worked with Memorial Sloan Kettering on a building that they're planning for 2020. And this year, I'm really happy that we're going to work with City Bike. So it should be really fun. Thank you.
Yay. Yeah. Up next, please welcome Roger Mader and Jared Richardson.
I just need 30 seconds. Bing me at 30 seconds.
Done.
Hi, I'm Roger. You're in a race. Turn to the person next to you. Nod to each other. You know who you're competing with now. You have 5 seconds to say in their face the name of a product or service that has changed your life. Go. Okay, who won? Raise your hand if you won the race. Come on, half of you won the damn race. Oh my God, loser side, what happened? Ooh. Okay, 30 seconds over?
Yeah.
Go. See ya.
All right, so 35-year-old white man, 50-year-old C-suite executive. Looks pretty similar, right? Similar brands even, maybe similar packaging a little bit. But fundamentally different behaviors, different motivations, different ways of thinking. How do you choose, right? Strategy gives you the confidence in order to break down a problem and build it back up so you can make fantastic decisions. So ultimately you are ensuring that your idea is going to be more successful. And that's really the foundation of strategy. It's the who, the how much, it's the why should we care, who's going to care, all those fundamental questions that when you push on them hard enough, together they form the basis for a strategy, and that ultimately ensures that you will ultimately be more successful.
Please welcome Eric Foreman.
Okay, so computers are terrible. You have like a 2D flat rectangle and you have a little keyboard, and the real world is not like that at all. There's wind, there's sound, there's light, there's temperature, there's people, there's presence. In physical computing, we teach how to make circuits and electronics to interface the real tangible world with the technological world. What happens in physical computing? Usually you start with an Arduino. It's a tiny little robot brain. It's a microcontroller. It's like your computer, but it's tiny. It has no abilities until you give it abilities. So we learn about sensors. How do you make electricity and voltage from sensors translate into information that you can do something with? So for example, pressure, motion, proximity, temperature, and eventually data from the internet and far out in the rest of the world and the globe. The whole point of this is to make our relation with technology, which is increasingly dominating our lives, into something more intuitive and elegant, hopefully. And in other cases, even farther than that, you can translate things kind of like making your own scale between something in the world that's never been translated, one type of phenomena in the world, into another type of phenomena. So you could turn clouds into music, for example, and you can turn blood sugar values for a diabetic into a little alert behind your ear, depending if you want to go from the art side all the way to the science side. And that's what we do in physical computing. We start with circuitry, we start with programming, we start with physical things. You put little wires together, there's lots of teeny tiny parts. It's really frustrating, but it's also really great.
Please welcome Clay Wiedemann, Jay Huffs, and Josh Music. Sorry,
Hello.
Jeff Huffs.
Yes.
So Josh isn't here today. He's in spirit, but not in present.
It's unfortunate because he's the lively one
Yes.
of the three, right? As anyone who's had the class can attest.
So we teach a class on prototyping the user experience, which goes over a range of prototyping techniques from basic things like paper up to video, software, hardware. We kind of pick up where some things leave off, like physical computing, and how do you mash up, web-based systems with physical systems, etc.
Yeah, and I think one of the sort of core tenets of our class is to get your hands dirty. And we always sort of begin with an assignment, so people are prototyping in the first class, and maybe they have one more class to iterate on it, but they're immediately making things. And I think what's really critical is we see people getting those out into the world. Because we incorporate video so much, and because we think of prototypes as a way to learn and not only to express an endpoint, they're always sort of in subways or out in the streets and getting in trouble with people, the law. It's a good part. And some of the things that have come out of this are like the fitness trainer drone, which is really cool and can get you in trouble with the law.
Augmented reality subway creatures. So it's cool. You want to make an augmented reality creature for the subway, but you have to go in the subway and make that.
And that had puppets or marionettes. A multi-generational family heirloom. Really hard to explain, but incredibly successful, and got one of our students a great job at Facebook.
And the future of digital reading was another nice project that we saw.
Thank you.
Up next, Paul Pangaro. And now Jody Leo.
I am in a lab coat because I teach research. You know research? Test tubes, piles of books behind which you're taking months to crunch your idea into something really important. Hell no, that's not what I teach. But I'm going to keep the lab coat on because I think it's pretty cool. I am here to debunk the fact or the thought that research is costly, labor-intensive. It can be accomplished in a focus group or just in stakeholder interviews. This class is about gathering raw materials, the raw materials needed to build new and important combinations for breakthroughs. We're consistently trying to dodge this hard work, as James Webb Young says, but it's really important. I help students figure out how to do that quickly and help them go forth with the plan that they need to do that, which includes the ability to recruit, the ability to moderate, the ability to synthesize the information they learn by talking to human, real, to quote Liz, people, things, ideas that need to get changed. It's the realness that we're getting at. Students leave with the ability to recruit, interview, synthesize, and design. I'm consistently blown away by the designs that they make.
And now Daniel Gottemeyer and Richard Tay are not here. Please welcome to the stage Despina Papadopoulos. Oh, wait. Oh, they are here.
Urban Fictions explores the ubiquitous access to technology and data through hands-on data visualization exercises to then create speculative urban futures. Throughout the course, you will be guided through a succession of hands-on data visualization exercises with a variety of data sets that you, as students, are creating through your daily routine in the city rather than working with a non-related third-party data set. This succession of data observation exercises will run from only using your senses as sensors to then observe with small data to finally aggregate the small data sets to detect more general patterns of you as a class. Inspired by these own observational exercises, we will then extrapolate these experiences onto the city scale and big data to speculate about future interaction scenarios driven by this impending data ubiquity. And I think that should be a lot of fun.
And now Despina Papadopoulos.
There is another part of the class, and it's future wearables for the year 2046. Sewing needles, dyed fabrics, and weaved fabrics have been around between 40 and 27,000 years. Eyeglasses, which many of you wear, which is a wearable technology, they were invented in Italy. They were first made in Italy in 1286. So what we're asking the students is to imagine what kind of wearable technologies and wearable environments, which is a term I prefer to use, will be all using in 2046. So we're not asking them to predict the future, because we all know that's a fool's errand, but to realize that they have a big part in creating the future. The material culture that we're developing today, the technologies that we're developing today, are going to very much influence and in many ways dictate the kind of relationships we're going to have with ourselves, with others, with our environment and our cities, and with the world at large. So what does it look like? How do you make it happen? In order to do it, I think you also need to understand and articulate the kind of systems that will be in place at that time. And in a way, it's like an edge case design scenario where you're forced to be very conscious about what the world looks like, what are the underlying ethical and design decisions that you have to make, and then just go out and make them, because you will be living in that world. 33 years is not that long ago. Remember, the Walkman was invented in 1979, which is 34 years ago.
Now Jeff Gray, please, to the stage.
This is a stage, right?
That's a stage.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jeff Gray. I teach a class called Slow Code, and it's really the whole basis of the class is to be sort of a code literacy class to give you sort of the fundamentals of programming. I like to think of it more like a cooking class where you're sort of spending the first half of the class sort of working on your knife skills and sort of learning the different tools that you have in the kitchen, so to speak. And the second half of the class is sort of where I throw you into the pantry and have you look for various different types of ingredients that you can combine together and then work alongside each other to sort of make something interesting or tasty, or, as some of the students can probably attest to, sometimes very vile and untasty, but interesting all the same. And then sort of take that and continue to recook it or let it sort of sit there and stir for a little bit until it turns into something that they can use. So there you go.
Gary Chow.
All right, so how many of you think that if you had a semester you can make $1,000 without renting your room out and without selling consulting services? That's not that many. Okay. Well, in my class, that's one of the things that you'll have to do. And it's not really a class. It's kind of actually like a reality TV game show. And I'm the host and producer of that. In the past, some students have actually made things such as maps of countries made out of close-up, blown-up photos of cheese, a service to get your Instagram photos printed on stone coasters, a subscription service for poems on postcards to be delivered to you, and feminist superhero underwear. Entrepreneurial design is founded on the belief that the internet is causing or is bringing about a structural and societal shift that is as significant as our shift from a hunter-gatherer society to farming, and from farming to an industrial one as well. And let's see, oh, I forgot my line. Oh. And this class is about exploring that shift and exploring what is possible. Thanks.
Up next, Michael Schneider.
All right, I'm going to need you to help me with this. If you want a verbal description of my class, the online one is great, so go and read it. So my class is really about leveraging some of the digital design processes for real space. A lot of it's rapid iterations and a lot of failures, so we're going to try something that might fail. We're going to do a joint poem, an acrostic poem, based on the letters in my class. So I need you to shout out a word when I point to a letter here. I need a P.
Peonies.
Peonies. A U.
Umbrella.
Umbrella. B.
Bananas.
Bananas. L.
Lime.
Lime. I. Ideas. C.
Cats.
Cats. I.
Igloo.
Igloo. N. Nutella. T. Taco.
Trampoline.
Taco. Ooh, E.
Elephant.
Elephant. R.
Riot.
Riot. F.
Fangs.
A.
Angel.
Angel. C.
Cow.
Cow.
Everything.
Everything. And S.
Something.
Something. Thank you.
Up next, Fiha and Kate Muth.
So Kate can't be with us tonight. She has to attend to her child. But I will represent both of us. So service design. I think of service design as really a way for designers to expand their web of thoughtfulness. And what I mean by that is sort of, in the context of service design at least, it means being thoughtful about increasing access. It means building community, promoting openness, and most importantly, connecting online to offline interaction. And over the 4 years in this class, I've been inspired and impressed by the thoughtfulness that the students have displayed year after year in their work. So basically, I'm going to spend the rest of the time reading out some of the services that they've created in this class. AA Passport, the information flyers need where and when they need it. A Bun in the Oven, pregnancy nutrition counseling for teens at risk. Smorgasbus, a food truck and education program that will stem the rising childhood obesity epidemic while also serving working professionals across the city. Streamline, Store Your Smart Travel Light, a service that empowers locals to rent their idle goods to tourists who want to travel light. Roadie, Manage Your Tour, Mobilize Your Fans, a service that helps you painlessly organize and manage your band's tours while also connecting you with the people who matter most, your fans. Sidekick, for young, on-the-go working professionals who are responsible for their own health but need that extra nudge to stay active during the day. That's all I had time for.
And next, Karen McGrane.
How many of you all are hoping that one of the outcomes of your graduate school education will be that you will make more money? Right, okay, well, I would hope this entire program would help you with that, but my class is gonna really help you with that. So I teach design management, and I just sometimes describe it as like business skills for interaction designers. And for those of you who are not totally motivated by money, I just want to say I have a BA in philosophy and a Master of Science from an engineering program, which totally qualifies me to teach the business class in a Master of Fine Arts program. So I like to describe my class as being about value. So how do you value your work? How does your work get evaluated? And how is money a yardstick that people use to evaluate the quality of your work? And I would hope that if you, coming out of my class, that you would get the best job that you can possibly get, one that is uniquely aligned with your skills and your value system, and that then you will get as much money, you will get paid as much money as possible for that work.
Now, Ryan Jacoby.
No one knows me, so they won't. Thanks. I was nervous until then. So my class is an invitation for you to treat leadership as a craft, as something to get better at. So we're gonna do that now. So how many of you guys want to start a new product or service? Raise your hands. Product company, design firm. How many of you want to start your own design firm at some point? You got to keep your hands up. Hands up. Hands up. It's participatory. Okay, cool. How many of you want to work on meaningful things? All right, everybody, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. All right. So let me tell you, I got a new project for you. It's a $750K project, and it's to reinvent urban transportation. How many of you guys want to do that project? Okay. Keep them up. The project's from Halliburton. How many of you don't want to? Oh, a bunch of hands went down. Okay, so those of you that put your hands down, put your hands back up. So what if I told you that we're going to have to lay off 5 people from this company that we have if we don't take this project? How many of you are going to do the project anyway? And how many of you are going to decide not to do the project? Who's not going to do the project? Great. So your name is Becca. Becca, the front row is right here. Those are the 5 people we got to lay off. What I need you to do is to do it. All right, you don't have to do it, but that's what we do in my class. We create a safe space to deal with these issues of leadership and to try on these conversations, and it's a very participatory thing. So thanks.
And now, Chloe Gottlieb and Tim Allen. By video.
Hi, I'm Chloe, ECD of RGA New York.
Hi, I'm Tim Allen, ECD, Head of Experience with us.
And we're here to talk to you about the experience we had with Thesis 3 last year. When our students started out, they were in an abstract place, and we went on a journey to make that idea that they had very clear. And this was a process of continuing to iterate, make it richer, and crystallize at the same time.
And when the students entered the course, they were in a divergent thinking pattern. We helped them turn the corner from divergent to convergent.
And we did that by asking them to both think and make simultaneously.
And once they had a concrete artifact of their idea, we helped them to communicate that idea effectively to their audience.
So the thesis journey helped them turn what was abstract into something very concrete, to take everything they had learned in the program and make it tangible for their audience to enjoy.
Now, David Womack.
Hi there. So I teach a class called Narrative and Interactivity. And my general perspective is that the general dialogue around interaction design is still very functionalist, as if the total aspiration of interaction design has got to be like the quickest line between 2 points. But I feel like people are stranger than that, darker than that, and occasionally more interesting than that. And we do things that don't make sense all the time. So the purpose of this class is to sort of broaden our perspective from of interaction from just efficiency to one of really what makes things interesting, regardless of the form that the experience takes. So what we do in the class is look at some traditional narratives, look at things like plot, setting, and character, and apply them to quote-unquote non-traditional experiences in this context, mainly digital and occasionally physical, and try to understand what makes something really compelling, what's the hook. And by hook, I don't mean the tagline. I mean some intrinsic value that the interaction has that is disruptive, that is surprising, and that ultimately makes people want to be a part of something larger than perhaps themselves, or at least their expectations. Thanks.
Please welcome Carla Diana and her whiteboard.
Okay. I teach a course called Smart Objects. It is the intersection of atoms and bits. And what happens in my course is we think about objects that have the ability to sense, and that also have the ability to express through light, through sound, and through motion. These objects also have a brain that may be embedded, or that brain may be in the cloud. But ultimately, the most important thing is that these objects are able to communicate with us, allow us to communicate with each other, and the objects also communicate with one another. And that makes them smart.
Now, please welcome to the stage Jeffrey Zeldman.
I teach a class called Selling Design. It's a very poorly named class because it has really not much to do with that. It's so here is the student. I'm inspired by Gallagher, and this is my watermelon. Okay, so here's the student. This is my prop. Here's the student, and inside is everything else that the students have been learning through the 2 years of the program. And out here is the world that they haven't had that much experience with yet. So I bring in a whole lot of people from outside the world to talk about the kinds of places they work, the kind of work they do, the way they collaborate, the way they struggle with each other, and things like that. And then what I really want the students to do is figure out this part themselves. Who are you before you go out there? Because fortunately for you, I spent a lot of time in terrible jobs that were wrong for me, that would have been great for somebody else, but were really wrong for me. And I wasted maybe 15 years of my professional life doing things I was bad at or not suited to. And the idea is to try to figure out who you are, what kind of person you are, being very simple about it. Things like, are you an introvert? Are you social? Do you like to really dive into something? Do you like to work kind of in isolation and then bring an idea to a partner? Or do you like to sit in a room with someone and figure that stuff out? That's what the class is about. Hopefully, the idea is that you're spending a lot of money, you're coming out of this program, and you may say, well, I need to start making that money back, so I'm going to go to Facebook. Or you may think, anyway, we prepare you for out here by knowing that.
Abrams via video.
Interaction Design's 5th birthday, I'm going to share with you some imperatives that came up during a recent faculty meeting about what we're teaching and what the students are here to learn. We decided you're here to understand what emerges at the intersection of digital and physical, and to code, but also to role play, to commit ideas to video, to get overwhelmed, to get over yourselves, to prepare, to abandon what isn't working, to interact with faculty, to course correct, to spy on each other as data sensors, to follow data trails, to make $1,000, to expand the web of thoughtfulness, to confront our perceptions of our own limitations, to lead, negotiate, deal with others, to make the translation between thinking and making, the translation between the abstract and the object, to get to the essence of an idea, to thrive within constraints, to demonstrate and show, to search for why with courage, to get to what with confidence, to identify a context, to avoid writing term papers, to emphasize play over theory, to connect tactics with applied skills, to take field trips, to go to real places and meet real people, and I would also say, to make real friends, real people.
Last but not least, Paul Ford. So I want to give you guys a taste of what my class is really like, so I didn't prepare. No, I did. What's interesting about this is that we're all working from a framework of a minute, and that's what my class is about. It's about looking at those constraints, understanding the boundaries. What does a minute mean? Who the hell invented minutes? It's 24 hours divided by 60. It's a crazy idea. And just take 5 seconds and imagine life without minutes. And I'm 1/20th further along, but the other issue is that this is what I'm trying to figure out. How do the minutes get there? Who sets the boundaries? And once they're there, what do you do with them? We talk a lot about constraints. There's a wonderful quote, William Morris, an artist from the late 1800s in Britain, you can't have art without resistance in the materials. Who puts the resistance there? User experience folks, interaction design. If we're adding that resistance, what are the morals? What does it mean? What are we doing? The larger issue, too, is that as we're building these systems, you'll often find resistance as you're creating ways for people to put content out into the world. People fight back. Why are you doing that? Why is the video there? Should it be video? Should it be text? There's a formal system and an informal system. We always work within the formal system. The web is very formal, very structured, lots of standards. The informal system is where they fight you. Why can't I get my idea out into the world? Why are people telling me no all the time? Let's talk about that. Let's figure out about why it's so hard to convey new ideas and why so much of innovation is actually diplomacy. Thank you.
So that's it. So for those of you considering an MFA in interaction design, you're free to go. For all the rest of you, we're going to bring up some of the students and alumni from the program. But first, thank you so much to everybody who just participated in that. That was kind of awesome. So just a note, I'm going to invite two current students and one alumni up. So if you guys want to just grab a stool and kind of organize yourself on the vertical stage we have here. And we're going to be taking questions in a bit. So if you have questions you've been thinking about for any of us, that goes for you guys who are physically here and people who are watching as well. So we'll take those in a bit. But I'm going to leave it to these guys to share with you, what a day is like for them, both in the program and outside of it. So take it away.
So what's my day-to-day like? I spend a lot of time here in the studio working on projects. It's a great space. You guys should look around. And we also have a lot of group projects, lots of collaboration, and we have so much fun working together. And yeah, a lot of hard work, lots of late nights in the physical computing lab, and a lot of exposure to the industry as well. It's really up to you what you make of it, but the program gives you plenty of opportunities to learn and grow. Yeah, and at SVA, we don't just focus on the curriculum, although the assignments keep us very busy, and we have a lot on our minds all the time about projects. we take time out to attend art festivals and design jams and hackathons, lots of guest lectures. We've had a variety of guest lectures here at the studio. Facebook was here a few weeks ago to talk about how they approach design and what they look for when they're hiring people. So that was great exposure. Yeah, and on Thursdays, we have our traditional slow jam cooking sessions where we take turns to cook for each other. This was... Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this was a tradition started by our seniors, and we have awesome seniors. They're always helping us out and answering our million questions. Yeah, it's great. And the next batch will have some pretty awesome seniors, too.
Hi, my name is Tyler Davidson. I'm a second year in the program. I think the reason I chose to come here above all the other programs was its connection to the real world in a lot of ways. All the faculty here are working professionals. They either have their own studios, they work for fantastic companies, and while we do a lot of really creative, speculative work, everything is somewhat or completely grounded in reality. Even further than that, most of the work that we do gets done in teams, so it's, even though they're teams of 3, 4, 5 people, it's somewhat of a simulated studio environment. You never really work alone in the real world, at least you can, but more often than not, you're gonna be working with collections of people, so you learn soft skills like dealing with egos and timelines and structuring your schedule around other people's schedule. So I think that's more than anything the reason why I decided to come here was that connection to the real world. Furthermore, the program does offer you the ability to kind of work, if you would like, in the professional world. I work about 15, 16 hours a week at a part-time job. Most of the classes are structured at night. There's some sort of, it goes back and forth very often, so you have to be flexible, but it does offer you that ability. But I really value that connection to the real world when you're here. And even when you're doing some really crazy design stuff, there's always this sort of connection, whether it's through your professors or through your fellow students who have also come from a variety of backgrounds. You always sort of have this connection to the larger world in terms of systems thinking. And there's always this push to really understand what you're doing, not only in terms of the studios and the groups you're working in, but the larger world as well. And I think that is something that you really can't, there's no way to value that. So that's why I love this program.
Hi, my name is Tina. I am an alumni. I was amongst the second batch to come out of this program. What? Okay, I will speak up, Clint. Sorry, old habits die hard. I've given many a presentation in this room where same thing happened. Anyway, so my day-to-day is pretty awesome. I go to work at 10, I get home at 6, I go to sleep at a normal time. But between that, I actually do some design work. I work at a software company called Fog Creek. It is a 40-person, mostly run by engineers, so, you know, inmates running the asylum kind of thing. Hello, engineers in the audience. It's really great there. I've recently been told that I'm a senior designer, so I had to write a job description for hiring a clone of myself. So to tell you about my day, I'm just going to read that. All right. Develop an ongoing strategy for bringing greater usability, delight, and beauty into existing products. Play an integral part in the business's growth by developing a keen understanding of our customers. Work closely with our development team to prioritize design and execute product enhancements and features. Support development efforts by writing front-end production code. Interface regularly with customer support to keep abreast of customer issues and needs. Embody empathy. Provide a variety of design deliverables to clearly communicate design intent in the best way you deem possible. This may include blah, 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 blah. You know, stuff. So I do all of these things day to day, not all on the same day, of course, but on and off. And it is fun, and I get paid a lot. Thanks, Karen.
Great. So we have a mic that we can pass around for questions. If you have any questions for these guys, who are really, you know, the people who went through it frontline, or anybody else, now is a good time. And Sam, our MC, who also doubles as a first-year student, is going to pass the mic around.
Tyler, I specifically had a question for you about the job that you have, and if you could tell us a little bit more about that, and also about other students who are working and what kinds of jobs they tend to have.
I have a weird situation. I work as a user experience consultant for Goldman Sachs. I came from an architecture background. I didn't really have any interaction design experience other than I guess I built physical interactions for people, but I didn't really realize that until much later, how much of interaction design knowledge I gleaned from my previous career, I guess. So I came in here pretty much not knowing much, or at least I didn't think I knew anything. And I was kind of able, through good fortune and through amazing teachers and the ability to kind of learn how to sell myself, bullshit my way into a job at a surprisingly really good company. So yeah, I kind of found myself here, which is, many of you probably think that it's a really strange and awkward place for a designer to work. But the glorious thing about right now is that there's so many companies that are just waking up to the fact that they need designers more than anything, that I kind of found myself dropped into this position, and they were like, what, can you do this for us? And it was, I was able to kind of basically bullshit my way through. And I mean, I say that in somewhat of a joking way, but I was able to produce deliverables for them and whatnot that they liked a lot. So yeah, that's where I am now. In terms of other students, I think that pretty much runs the gamut, everybody from Facebook. There are 2 or 3 people in my year who have had full-time offers just from their summer internships, and those are the people that wanted them. So I think there's Twitter, there's a couple people that work at Smart Design. I don't think anybody went to Frog last year, but there's, RGA, and you name it, Interaction Design Studio, startups. It's kind of nice here. At least it feels like you kind of have the pick. Karen often talks about this, is it's a seller's market, and this, because also the fact that all of the faculty are working here, when you go to class, you're not only learning from these people, you're actively building your network just by being in the same room as them. And I talk to professors every day who I would, before this, would have died to just get an audience from. So. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
What else? Excuse me?
Hi, so this is more of a question for kind of any of the faculty and I guess students as well, but so visiting New York has been really expensive for me. I'm going to take a shot in the dark that living in New York is pretty expensive too, and going to grad school is also really, really expensive. So what kind of scholarship opportunities or financial aid opportunities might there be?
Maybe I'll take that one. And then these guys, they can validate whether or not that's true. Yes, indeed. Living in New York, I believe it's one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in. So you picked that. You are absolutely correct. That said, we are completely straightforward about the numbers, and everything is spelled out about the cost of living and expenses and so on. SVA does offer all kinds of scholarships. There's an SVA college-level scholarship, there's a departmental scholarship, and increasingly we have different kinds of awards from people who want to be part of the program and kind of contribute to student education. So some of them you have to apply for, and some of them just based on your application to the program you are automatically qualified for. And then we work with you. You're assigned a financial aid advisor based on your application, and so you work with that person over the tenure of your 2 years. Yeah. You guys.
I didn't see the hand. Who is it? Great.
Hi, this is a question for all 3. Just wanted to know what your background was before you entered the program, like what your undergrad degree was, or if you worked a few years before entering the program.
I'm from a user experience background, but I would say that I think you would find it interesting to know that a lot of my classmates are from very different backgrounds. We have architecture students, we have fashion students, we have someone from the army as well, and sculpture. So I don't think you can have like a totally different career before you come here, just so you know.
My undergraduate was in art history. I worked as an architectural designer for 3.5, 4 years in the city, and then I found this place.
I was a boring designer before I came to this program, and now I'm an exciting designer. No, seriously. I worked for 2 years at a graphic design consultancy in Boston. Before that, I majored in fine arts and architecture as well, actually. So, but I definitely second what you said about anyone can come to this program if you demonstrate curiosity and a willingness to play with materials and that you like people. So, yeah.
And I'd like to add to that, I haven't had a lot of I don't think I need the mic. I'm
we
pretty
need this
loud.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. What was I about to say? I forgot. I was about to say that I didn't really work a lot. I spent like a couple of months in the industry before coming here. So even if you don't have a lot of exposure, I don't think that should get in the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely one of the values of this class is that it just, we have a physicist, we have an engineer, we have a mechanical engineer, we have an artist, we have a painter, we have a graphic designer. I mean, it kind of runs the gamut, and Liz does a wonderful job of curating a class that works together, which goes back to my previous point about working in the real world, is that it gives you those soft skills that you don't even recognize that you're actually learning because you're involved with people from all different backgrounds and trying to collaborate and trying to get something done and trying to actually build something with all these different people. So it doesn't really matter where you come from, as long as, like you said, you have curiosity and passion and all of the marketing material that can be spewed.
And a portfolio.
Hi, I was wondering, what's been the most valuable thing that you've gained in your first, your second, and at graduation, respectively?
Sorry. I don't think it's too soon for me to answer that question. I'm only like 2.5 months into the program. But when I came here, I was looking to break away from just designing screen interfaces. And I think the most I've gotten out of this program so far is physical computing and coding. I think it's very necessary for designers to have an understanding of that, to be a better designer. So I think that's what I would say.
I kind of came in here with a defined idea of what I wanted to do, and I quickly realized that was all for the wind. And yeah, I think that to be prepared, if you want to come into this program, to be open to whatever happens, because something will happen to you here, and you'll come in with an idea of what you want to do, and you'll come out the second month of your first semester realizing that was completely false or not for you or whatever it may be. Just that you have to be ready to accept change, because you learn things here that kind of redefine how you think about the world and about design and about everything else. So.
The most important thing I learned throughout all of my 2 years here was to prioritize, because you will be taking so many classes, as you've heard, and they will all be competing for your time, and it will be impossible to do every single one of them equally well. Trust me, I've tried and not been able to succeed, and thankfully I didn't go totally insane. I've since recovered, but you'll find that, like, true of this program as it is of life, that you will be offered so many options. There will be so many different ways to do like one thing, even just like to design a button, less like, not to mention, what to do with your life, choosing that. You'll have a lot of different things to consider. So like to really figure out what your priorities are and what are the things that make you really excited to get up in the morning, answering that question will be very important and a good skill to have. So.
Just for the simulcast. I'm very curious about thesis projects and what you two have worked on, and what some maybe notable ones from your years are, and what kind of form those take towards the end. of the project?
Okay.
Gone through this. I'm starting.
All right, so thesis project can really be anything that you imagine, not merely in terms of the form that it takes, but also the process that you go through it. So in my class, we've had people making things, running the gamut from like a sort of artistic exploration of biological aging using tomatoes to, it was really cool. That was Michael Yap. You should look it up. To a kit, a box kit that you ship to like a younger sister to teach them about what it's like to get her first period. Like, you know, just anything that really matters to you. My personal project was learning how to code. And to that end, I built a cooking website that for some reason is still up. I don't know. I thought code would just come crashing down if left to its own devices. But so like to that end, I like kind of invented my own process, kind of when everybody else in my class was kind of like still doing whiteboard explanations, I was writing if statements and for loops and constantly telling myself, is this the right way to do things? But one thing you learn with thesis is that there is no right way to do things. You know, you kind of define your own path. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was great. Thanks.
Cool.
Do you want me to, I can give my opinion on this. I'm just starting. I have no idea what I'm doing for my thesis. Sorry. No, I mean, I kind of do. Thesis is, as I talked a little bit before about how this program is somewhat or pretty grounded in reality. Thesis is kind of your time to break out of that and figure out exactly what you want to do. And there's a lot of talk about a point of view. Thesis gives you the opportunity to do that. There's a lot of former students here, so I'm not going to pick out favorites of my past thesis. But it really runs the gamut, everything from applications to exploratory designs and visualizing age and physical fitness. It completely spans the gamut. It's completely about you. It is one time here that you can kind of go off and do something by yourself, whereas the majority of other classes, you're working with other people, and this is an opportunity to kind of really explore yourself. So it's kind of a nebulous thing. Like I said, I have somewhat of an idea what I want to do, but that's like evolving every day, hopefully.
No
Sorry,
pressure.
Eric.
So this is a question for Tina. So I recognize you from Brooklyn Beta. You stood up and gave a defense at Designers Debate Club, right? A defense of whether design can change the world. I remember it was a passionate defense, and I wondered if you might remember anything about it and want to repeat it for us. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, so gosh, I was really drunk that night. So like that's why I snatched the microphone from Michael Beirut's hand that time. Anyway, so I believe the motion to be debated was whether design can change the world. And because the room was full of designers, initially 70% voted yes and 30% voted no, or maybe it was more like 80-20. But I was vehemently against the motion because I believe it takes more than just designers to change the world. One thing you learn in this program is the importance of collaboration. And I think this is why Liz purposefully brings about like a bunch of people with diverse backgrounds from like engineering to art to science. Like we're not just all designers here. We don't all think in the same way. We don't all obsess about typography in the same way. But by the end you will. So like my whole point that night, which may or may not have been expressed well because like I was literally like falling over drunk, was that like in my experience working at a software company, like being a designer isn't enough. You have to get your entire team on board. You have to get the manager, you have to get the developers because they're building the darn thing. You know, like a wireframe is not going to change anyone's life. So yeah, change the world, but like make some friends and stuff.
One more question.
Based on your expectations before you got here, when you were, coming in and really excited, what was the most surprising thing that you learned once you got here, or just experience that you weren't expecting?
We get business cards. That was the biggest surprise.
This is gonna sound kind of boring and motherly, but sleep is really important because it makes, like, in this program you spend a lot of time in group meetings with your teammates arguing about quite nebulous things like, you know, high-level conceptual abstract things like urbanity and the future. And when you're talking about the future and you're really sleepy, you tend to get very angry because nothing is like objective, really. So you just argue. But if you sleep, you don't argue, and it's fun.
I would say don't come here with any expectations, because you're thrown into such different subjects and different curriculums, programs, that you just want to absorb everything in, and you'll have time to figure out what you want to do with it later. Just take it all in. Don't come with any expectations. Yeah, for sure. You'll have a lot going on.
Also, you'll get very familiar with Trader Joe's, but I encourage you to cook like these guys did. Seriously.
Thank you, guys. You can stay. Yeah, you could stay. That's fine. So one question that always does come up in general is, where do people go after they leave this program? One of the interesting things that I found is that in the first year, so first graduating class, 2011, I could say 100% of the people had jobs and job offers before they graduated. And actually one of the problems was people had too many choices, and that was overwhelming to them, as some of the faculty can attest to. This past year, 2013, that wasn't the case, and a very small percentage of the people had job offers by choice, because so many of them wanted to deliberate and think about whether or not they wanted to start their own companies or start their own products or their own services and become their own boss. And so it's interesting the paths that people have taken, partly because of the shape of the market, partly because of the culture, and perhaps partly because of the program. But this book is going to be a tradition that we've started this year, which asks the alumni what they've learned since they've graduated, and is also a catalog of where people have gone, what their jobs are, what company they worked for. But that's actually not really the important thing. It's actually what they've taken away and what they've learned. It's designed by one of our students, Anka Stolman, and illustrated by Brian Ray. So you could pick one up if you haven't already over here. And I also wanted to mention, a little bit unrelated, but still a book, that Jeffrey Zeldman, who's the co-founder, chief of many things, one including A Book Apart, has generously donated a whole bunch of books from this publishing house. One that just came out this week by Dan Cederholm, a number of them written by Kara McGrain, who you just heard from, and is a company that's also co-run by Jason Santamaria, who is also on the faculty. So it's a book sort of in the family. So please, thanks so much to Jeffrey and A Book Apart for donating those, and please pick up one of those as well. So that is what you can do when you leave this room. We also have self-guided tours with drinks. There are two students. One is Tyler, who's going to be giving tours of something called the Visible Futures Lab, which we haven't talked about. It's our other space that we share with the Products of Design department, and with arms extended to the rest of the graduate programs here at SVA. It's an amazing maker studio that has a wood shop, a digital fabrication studio, and like a large making area that we have classes in and workshops and all kinds of stuff to go. So go check that out. Tyler works there in addition to Goldman Sachs. No, not anymore. You used to. Okay. All right. Phew. Okay. So Tyler knows a good deal about it, so he can show you around. And Sam is wearing one of the gray t-shirts, so you can find him. He can give you tours around this space if you have any questions. So take some time to look around, and also, these are the t-shirts, sparkling t-shirts. Yeah, and then just join us in the studio. We have drinks and some food, and ask us more questions, because we're really curious what you have to say. So thanks so much.